and along with our top-tier midterm political panel who joins us with their thoughts on the new Wall Street Journal polling that I think is one of the most interesting numbers we have seen so far. And if these numbers hold up, they show a huge demographic shift that may be underway in America. White suburban women who make up 20% of the electorate, and the Journal is showing that they have swung by 27 points away from Democrats since August. If that number is accurate, it shows a huge move. It would put plus 15 in favor of the GOP with this group. So let's get some analysis as we bring in Mike Allen, Axios co-founder and executive editor. He's also co-author of Smart Brevity, so we'll keep it brief. Lee Carter, president and partner of Maslansky Partners, and Juan Williams, Fox News political analyst. All right, let's dive right in the interest of brevity. Mike, that number really caught my attention. And I just want to go back quickly here. This is the 2018 Fox voter analysis. Suburban women went for President Biden in a big way, and you can see the split here. Democrats 60%, Republican 38%. So do you buy these numbers that show this huge shift back the other way toward the GOP among suburban women, Mike?
Martha, thanks for teeing that up, and great town hall yesterday in Ohio.
Thank you.
We can go one layer deeper in that Wall Street Journal poll. So this was a good poll, 1,500 registered voters about a week ago. And what we see going on here is kind of a three-step dance. And I'm not much of a dancer, but I think that's a foxtrot. And what we're seeing is people who were not obsessed with politics are, one, voting on their pocketbooks. Two, second step, if you're voting on your pocketbook, you're concerned about inflation. And third, if that's the case, you're moving toward Republicans. So that's why you're seeing this decisive swing. And Martha, one more number I will point your viewers to, which says it all in this poll. The percentage of people who think the economy is headed in the right direction, 19 in the teens, 71% say it's saying in the wrong direction, with Democrats controlling both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue. That tells the story.
Yeah, it certainly may. Speaking of last night, I was struck by what we heard from women who I think fall into this category, given the towns that they were from in Ohio. Let's watch some of what they had to say last night.
I used to travel a lot. Now I'm afraid. I used to go to Chicago all the time. I won't go to Chicago now. I'm fearful.
One of my greatest concerns is the high cost of groceries and the high cost of prescription medications.
Can you look me in the face and tell me that government expenditures on green energy subsidies are in any way lessening my burden at the gas station and the grocery store?
All right. So, Lee Carter, I want to get. Do we have time to get Lee in, or are we going right to Newark? All right, Lee. Quick reaction to what those women had to say.
So I think this is just exactly why we're seeing this swing. You see that women are very concerned about crime. The Wall Street Journal poll said 3 out of 5 say it's one of the primary reasons that they're going to vote the way that they're going to vote. And the same thing is happening with the economy, prices, and inflation. And this poll isn't an anomaly. The same kind of numbers came out of the New York Times poll just last week as well. So we are seeing this big shift. Number one issue, pocketbook. Number two, safety. And then those other issues that the Democrats are winning on, like abortion and the war on democracy, then those come much lower in those polling numbers.
All right, we're going to Newark, but a very quick thought from you, Juan, because I don't want to miss getting your reaction to this real quick.
Well, I think it's about abortions, what we're talking about. When you saw that tremendous swing in the Wall Street Journal poll, it's basically that those voters are saying that the economy is their primary concern, less so abortion. But I do think that also in that Wall Street Journal poll, you see that there's a high rate of interest and likely voter turnout among white Americans that exceeds the level of interest among black and Latinos. I think that maybe is more as compelling and as determinative as those numbers coming from the white suburban women.
And why do you think they're not interested? Why the passivity this time around, Juan?
I don't know that they're not interested. It's still, in the high 60s. But what you're seeing is that there's a very high level of interest in this election coming from white voters. And I think that, it's just who gets fired up. Remember, midterms are always about turnout. That's what it comes down to. And I think right now, if you're talking to Democrats, they're worried about turnout. They see that the way that Republican messaging has focused on crime and you saw it in that voter survey that you just did in Ohio, Martha, that they've got people Halloween scared over crime. We can talk about justified or not justified, but the messaging, without a doubt, has struck. And similarly on the issue of the economy, a lot of people say, well, you know, Janet Yellen says we're not on the verge of some recession, but you can't say that to a voter without the voter saying, "Hey, you're trying to mislead me." Again,
well, they know what's going on in their own home finances and the decisions that they have to make. I want to go back to Mike Allen. Mike,
well, tonight.
That's what I'm going to ask Mike about. So let me do that.
Tonight, I think you're going to get a different message from President Biden.
All right, Mike, what are you hearing about that?
Yeah, so we learned about the speech at an Axios event today. Anita Dunn from the White House was on stage and announced that the president was going to be speaking near Capitol Hill, near where I'm sitting at this moment in Union Station. And we're going to hear the president say that political violence is something we can all rally around, something that everyone can be against. And Martha, you see in that poll, there's very little else that Americans agree on. So the president's going to try to draw a line from January 6th and what happened at the Capitol. The scene of the crime is how he'll try to portray it, with the bookend of the attack on Speaker Pelosi's house, and saying that over those events, he's been worried about political violence, and now this is something that he's going to argue people should come out to vote against. Interestingly, it's not a White House speech. It's a Democratic National Committee speech. So this is going to be an explicitly political speech where he's going to urge people to vote on these issues. Martha, may I point you to one more number in that poll that I think will stick with your viewers, and something that makes this Republican shift in the midterms even more striking? In that Wall Street Journal poll, in a Trump-Biden rematch, 46-46. Absolutely split country, and yet on these midterm issues, look at the way voters are splitting at the end.
Yeah, it is very, very, very interesting. Mike, while I have you, just quickly, you were pressing folks at the White House, Anita Dunn and Jan O'Malley Dillon, about the question of investigations into Hunter Biden. And you went back at it several times. I give you credit because it's an important question for them. But they basically said, you know, he's doing better now. What did you think of their response?
Yeah, we know that the Republicans, if we assume a House majority, going to have very aggressive investigations. Hunter Biden is one of them. The origins of COVID, big city crime, the way that the Justice Department has been dealing with school boards, all like very hot button issues. The Republicans have signaled they're going to be very aggressive about this. And the way I started my question to these White House officials today was both sides, both the White House and House Republicans and Senate Republicans, have added lawyers. They're both gearing up for what they know are going to be very intense investigations. House Republicans and House Republican leader McCarthy, he's expecting to be Speaker McCarthy as of January. They've already signaled to nearly every agency and department in government, retain your documents, retain in some cases even communications on your personal devices. The investigations are coming. And Martha, the why it matters of that is that shows what our national conversation is going to be like heading into 2024.
Yeah, not only Hunter Biden, but also questions about COVID and how things are handled at the FBI. Also a big subject. We talked to Jim Jordan yesterday, who, if this goes the way it looks like it's going right now,
he'll be Chairman Jordan.
He would be Chairman Jordan of the Judiciary Committee. Thank you all so much. Great to have you here, Mike and Lee and Juan. Great to talk to you guys. Obviously, we'll be talking to you in the coming days as we head closer to the election, just 6 days away. Thank you very much.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.